Today we're going to talk about the secret to setting a solid appointment. If you've watched some of my videos, you'll realize that I'm not a big fan of setting up appointments. But if you have to set up an appointment, here's what you're going to need to do in order to be successful and be an absolute sales rock star and not be a lounge act that never ever gets your phone calls ever answered. So the very first thing is this. We've talked about in a previous video. Fact find first, appointment second. That has to be your rule of thumb. That has to be your mindset that you cannot set up an appointment. You cannot do that. You have to have a full fact find, a full discovery done first, and ideally you want to spend at least 10 minutes with that individual on the phone and be able to connect with them. Try to build some rapport with them during that fact find, during the discovery process, if you have to end up setting an appointment. So I've talked about this before. Always remember that people forget 70% of what you've talked about after 24 hours. So if you even spent 10 minutes on the phone with somebody, you built that rapport, you built that connection with them, you're going to set that appointment. Remember that after 24 hours, after you've set up that appointment, you've set up that callback, they've forgot 70% of everything that you've talked about. See, that was a motivating factor for me to not set up any appointments because I did not want, after 24 hours, for that individual to only remember 30% of what we actually discussed, what we talked about. So remember that when you're setting up your appointment, when you're callback, remember that 70% of what you've talked about will be forgotten when you talk to that individual next. You see, a lot of salespeople, when they do call that person back or they have that appointment and the individual actually does answer, they're going into it thinking that that person remembers 100% of what they've talked about. Remember, you're going to be different because now you realize that they've forgot almost 3/4 of everything that you've talked about. So if you have to set an appointment, if that's a necessity, always sound like you're busy. Remember, always sound like you're busy. People want to work with someone in demand. They don't want to work with somebody that's not busy, that has a lot of time on their hands. I see so many sales agents that will set up the callback and go, okay, when do you want me to call you back tomorrow? When do you want me to call you back tomorrow? If you're busy and you value your time, you're busy. You're not going to tell that person what time you can call them back. You set that up. You know, I have a lawyer friend of mine that I'll talk to. I can't just tell my lawyer friend, you know what? Let me call you tomorrow. No, he is busy. He has only certain times that he can actually talk to me. That's the mindset that you have to have as well. You have to appear to that other individual that you are in demand even if you have absolutely nothing going on. People want to work with people that are in demand. Make a concrete callback with that individual. Tell the prospect exactly what is the best time for you. So if you're talking to a prospect, you've had a conversation with them, you've done a full fact find, you've done a full discovery process, and you're going to set up a callback for the next day. Say, hey, what would work best for you, morning or afternoon? So you can give them a choice, morning or afternoon. Then you tell them what's best. So I have 4 o'clock available tomorrow afternoon. Would that work for you? Okay. If the person says, no, I can do 2 o'clock, don't quickly move to 2 o'clock. See, remember, your gut will tell you, okay, I'm going to move it to 2 o'clock because that will give me the best chance of getting the deal if I comply with them. No, they're trying to control the conversation. If you all of a sudden go, oh yeah, I can do 2 o'clock, they're thinking in their mind, well, why didn't he say 2 o'clock? Why didn't she say 2 o'clock? So all of a sudden now they realize, guess what? They just tricked you. They just found out that your time is not valuable to them. So if that is the case, what I would do is this. I would say, you know what? I don't have a 2 o'clock available. I apologize for that. Let's look at the next day. I have a 2 o'clock the next day that's available. Would that work for you? Okay. You want to go ahead and make it sound like you're busy. Even if you have that 2 o'clock available, don't do it. Absolutely under no circumstances do that, because what you're doing at that point is you are telling the person that your time is not valuable to you. Go ahead and change it. So let's say that this individual tells you 2 o'clock. if you have to set up that appointment for that day, don't comply to 2 o'clock. Say, you know what, I don't have 2 o'clock available, but I have 2:30. Would that work for you? Or I have 3 o'clock available. Would that work for you? Always change the time because it makes you look busy. You want to look busy. You don't want to look desperate. There's a big difference between the two. Look busy, not desperate. So now that you're setting up this appointment, you're setting up this callback with this individual, remember, always keep in mind, I keep reiterating this, 70% of the time, they are going to forget everything that you've talked about, as well as they're going to forget that they even set a callback or an appointment with you. So what you have to do is this. You have to set expectations for a callback. If you want them to value your time, you have to set expectations for the callback. So the first thing is this. You have to have them write down your name and your number. Have them grab a piece of paper, have them write down your name, have them write down your number as well. That is something that's setting expectations for the callback. Secondly, here's a big secret. About to throw down a big secret, a big boom for you. You have to set a concrete email or a text or a calendar invite with the other individual. See, that was one of my secrets when I set up a callback with an individual when it was an absolute must. There was no other option for me to continue that conversation, and I had to set up a callback or I had to set up an appointment. Here's what I would do, is I would make sure that not only did I set up the concrete phone call with that individual for that specific time, I also had things in the background working for me. I set up a concrete email to them or a text or a calendar invite that I made them respond back to. So this way, the prospect can actually email you if they can't make it. So that's really, really important. So whenever I would set up on a callback, I would say, you know what, I'm going to send you an email, or I'm going to send you a text, or I'm going to send you a calendar invite. It's really important that you go ahead and you respond back to that. Sell that. You have to sell the appointment. Don't just matter of fact, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow at 2:30, I'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and then just move forward and hang up the phone. That is not setting a concrete callback with the individual. You have to have other forms of communication that that person can either get back to you or confirm that they are talking to you at that time. So I would send them an email, and in that email, here's what I would do, is on the subject line of the email, I would put in, respond back with, I got it. I would tell the individual this very thing. I would say, okay, Jim, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to set up this appointment for 2:30 tomorrow, because that works best for your schedule, works best for my schedule as well. I'm going to send you an email right now, and the subject line is going to be, I got it. What I want you to do is this. When you get my email, I want you to respond back to me with, I got it. You don't have to say anything else. You don't just type in, reply, I got it. That way I know that you received my email and your email is working. What I've done right there is I've made them accept a concrete callback, but it also does this. It lets me know that I have the right email address. Because if for some crazy reason they don't answer the phone, I know that this is another form of communication that I have with that individual. I can send them news that's beneficial to them if they do not answer the phone call. So again, when you're setting up a concrete callback with somebody, make sure that you are choosing a time that works best for you. Make sure that you look busy, not desperate. When you set up that concrete callback, it has to be followed up with some expectations. And the best way to do that is either A, send an email, send a text, send a calendar invite. You have to sell them on the fact that they have to respond back to that email or the calendar invite or the text that you're sending them so that you know that they have an appointment with you. I found that when somebody responded back to that calendar invite or they responded back to my email with, I got it, my closing percentage went up to 90% that they were going to go ahead and answer that phone call when I called them back. Because not only do they write it down, they have now responded back to my email or to my text or to my calendar invite with, I got it. Now I know that that was a solid appointment and they respected their time, but more importantly, they respected my time. They realized that they were dealing with an absolute sales rock star. They were not dealing with the lounge act. So if you want to move from lounge act to sales rock star, and you have to set up an appointment, you have to set up a callback with somebody, you have to follow these steps in order to be successful. If you don't do that, then you will fall into the lounge act category and you'll fall into a transactional salesperson that unfortunately will not be consistent in their sales process. I hope this has helped you out a lot. If you really got some good information from this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Again, go out there today, and if you have to set up an appointment, make sure that you follow these steps so that you are a sales rock star and you're making sure that you are spending your time wisely when you are calling somebody back for an appointment.